Namaste. Today in this podcast of Get Right to Education, we will listen about For Youth written by Krishnamurti. Let's start. I would like to discuss with you the problem of freedom. It is a very complex problem needing deep study and understanding. We hear much talk about freedom, religious freedom, and the freedom to do what one would like to do. Volumes have been written on all this by scholars, but I think we can approach it very simply and directly, and perhaps that will bring us to real solution. I wonder if you have ever stopped to observe the marvelous glow in the west as the sun sets, with the shy young moon just over the trees. Often at the hour of the river is very calm, and then everything is reflected on its surface, the breeze, the train that goes over it, the tender moon, and presently, as it grows dark, the stars. It is all very beautiful, and to observe, to watch, to give your whole attention to something beautiful, your mind must be free of preoccupations, must it not? It must not be occupied with problems, with worries, with speculations. It is only when the mind is very quiet that you can really observe, for then the mind is sensitive to extraordinary beauty. And perhaps here is clue to our problem of freedom. Now, what does it mean to be free? Is freedom as matter of doing what happens to suit you? Going where you like, thinking what you will? This you do anyhow. Merely to have independence, does that mean freedom? Many people in the world are independent, but very few are free. Freedom implies great intelligence. Does it not? To be free is to be intelligent, but intelligence does not come into being by just wishing to be free. It comes into being only when you begin to understand your whole environment, the social, religious, parental, and traditional influences that are continually closing in on you. But to understand the various influences, the influence of your parent, of your government or society, of the culture to which you belong, of your beliefs, your gods and superstitions, of the tradition to which you conform unthinkingly. To understand all these and become free from them requires deep insight, but you generally give into them because inwardly you are frightened. You are afraid of not having a good position in life. You are afraid of what your priest will say. You are afraid of not following tradition, of not doing the right thing. But freedom is really a state of mind in which there is no fear or compulsion, no urge to be secured. Don't most of us want to be safe? Don't we want to be told what marvelous people we are, how lovely we look, or what extraordinary intelligence we have? Otherwise, we would not put letters after our names. All that kind of things gives us self-assurance, a sense of importance. We all want to be famous people, and the moment we want to be something, we are no longer free. Please see this, for it is the real clue to understanding of problem of freedom. Whether in this world of politicians, power, position and authority, or in the so-called spiritual world where you aspire to be virtuous, noble, saintly, the moment you want to be somebody, you are no longer free. But the man or woman who sees the absurdity of all these things and whose heart is therefore innocent and therefore not moved by desire to somebody, such a person is free. If you understand the simplicity of it, you will also understand its extraordinary beauty and depth. After all, examinations are for that purpose, to give you position, to make you somebody. Titles, position and knowledge encourage you to be something. Have you not noticed that your parents and teachers tell you that you must amount to something in life, that must be successful like your uncle or grandfather, or you try to imitate the example of some hero, to be like the master, the saints, so you are never free. Whether you follow the example of a master, a saint, a teacher, a relative, or stick to a particular tradition, it all implies a demand on your part to be something, and it is only when you really understand this fact that there is freedom. The function of education then is to help you from childhood not to imitate anybody but to be yourself all the time, and this is the most difficult thing to do, whether you are ugly or beautiful, whether you are envious or jealous, always to be what you are. But understand it, To be yourself is very difficult because you think that you are ignoble and that if you could only change what you are into something noble, it would be marvelous, but that never happens. Whereas, if you look at what you actually are and understand it, then in that very understanding there is a transformation. So, freedom lies not in trying to become something different or nor in doing whatever you happen to feel like doing, nor in following the authority or tradition of your parents, of your teacher, but in understanding what you are from moment to moment. You see, you are not educated for this. Your education encourages you to become something or other, but that is not the understanding of yourself. Yourself is a very complex thing. It is not merely the entity that goes to school, that quarrels, that plays games, that is afraid, but it is also something hidden, not obvious. It is made up not only of all thoughts, what you think, but also of all things that have been put into your mind by other people, by books, by the newspapers, by your leaders. And it is possible to understand all that only when you don't want to be somebody, when you don't imitate, when you don't follow, which means really when you are in revolt against the whole tradition of trying to become something. That is the only true revolution leading to extraordinary freedom. To cultivate this freedom is the real function of education. Your parents, your teachers, and your own desires want you to be identified with something or other in order to be happy, secure. But to be intelligent, must you not break through all the influences that enslave and crush you. The hope of a new world is in those of you who begin to see what is false and revolt against it, not just verbally but actually, and that is why you should seek the right kind of education. For it is only when you grow in freedom that you can create a new world not based on tradition or shaped according to the idiosyncrasy of some philosopher or idealist. But there can be no freedom as long as you are merely trying to become or imitate a noble example.